Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a close look at the 4K Blu-ray disc and why I think it's on the way out. Yeah, I know that might be shocking to you, but I do think that we're on the tail end of the era of the 4K disc. Now, if you're new to the channel, like and subscribe because you don't want to miss this content. This is the best stuff. And talking about the best stuff, we're going to talk about why some of the best stuff in video is changing, and the way that you consume your media today might not be exactly the way that you consume it in the future. So when you look at the 4K Blu-ray disc, which I think has been the standard for a while for kind of top-end performance in anybody's home theater, media room, whatnot, if you look at the adoption, you know, it picked up and now it's coming back down, and I think it's definitely on the way out. Now, to take a closer look to understand what's going on, we'll start with a history of different formats and talk through that, and that'll give you a good grounding on where we were and where we are today, and then we'll talk about what's coming. So we're looking at Wikipedia right now, and this is a history of formats. If you take a look, you can see that, you know, VHS came out in '76, and then a couple of years later, Laserdisc came out, and these were 480p standard definition formats, which are horrible, right? It's just, you have to agree, its quality's horrible. But back in the day, you know, they were the bee's knees, and I rented plenty of these and watched them myself. It took 19 years for the DVD to come out, and that was 1997, or right here, and that got us up to well, I guess not much better quality than before, because 9 years after that, in 2006, that's when we finally got to HD, right? High definition, 1080p stuff, and that's the Blu-ray. Now, continue on another 10 years. And it doesn't show it here, but you get to 2016 and you get the 4K disc. So if you think about it, you know, that first big interval was 19 years between Laserdisc and VHS and DVD, and then 9 years DVD to Blu-ray, and then 10 years from Blu-ray to 4K disc, that 2006 to 2016. Well, we are now 7 years in on the 4K disc. So if you look at things purely from the point of view of technological advancement, this technology is getting long in the tooth, really long in the tooth. Now, some other things to think about that have happened in that same time frame, which are really important to understand what the ecosystem looks like, is that in 2005, YouTube was introduced, right? So you've got online video, and then 2007, Netflix was introduced. So at the same time that you've got this 4K format coming out, and it's just 2016, it's 2023, right? 7 years. You start growing this entirely alternative market of a way to consume content, right? So before you had the internet, you know, you had broadcast television, and then you go out and get physical media. Well, then you add in this third piece, and that's absolutely starting to chip away at disc sales in general. And while it is true that 4K discs are growing inside of the total disc sales arena, right? That whole niche, but disc sales in general have decreased. Now let's take a look at some numbers so we can kind of see what that looks like. This first chart is really another piece of history, right? So this is historic information to really give context. And the reason I say that is because this chart goes through 2018, and the 4K disc was introduced in 2016. But it really shows a very, very important trend that you have to keep your eye on, which started right around 2011. So if you look at the chart, DVD sales peaked out in 04, 05, 06 range, right? And then started coming down hard after that. At the same time that those sales were coming down, you see digital sales coming up, video on demand coming up, Blu-ray sales coming up, and then that blue line, 2011, subscription streaming took everything by storm, right? So that is really when the switch flipped from a world where you needed some type of physical media to a world where people were starting to consume things on the internet. It's interesting because YouTube and Netflix and those things, they really came in 2005, 2007. So, from that 2000, call it 2006 through 2011, those 5 years, that's when things were cooking, I guess. And that 2011 timeframe, they really took off. And that's when the world started to change. So it's really difficult, if you think about it from the perspective of a physical media producer, to say, okay, let's introduce this new piece of technology in 16 when sales have just skyrocketed for subscribers to online streaming services. So let's now take a look at some information around subscriber levels for online services. What we're looking at now is the US video streaming app revenue over time. This starts in 2015. Remember, 4K discs came out in 2016, and it's projected out through 2025. I think what's important to note here is in 2016, there were $9.3 billion in streaming revenue. And if you move up to 2023, we're up to what, $34 billion? So that's 20 something billion dollars in increase over that number of years. So every dollar that's being spent on streaming services are dollars that are not being spent on Blu-rays or other physical media. That's really important. It's very obvious to see that the market has significantly shifted in focus on where money is being spent. Now, let's take a look at a chart showing some of the revenue details for physical media. What we're looking at now is the global theatrical and home mobile entertainment market in US billions from 2017 to 2021. So we want to look at the physical media piece of this, and that is this section in the bottom, in the darker blue. So 2017, you've got 14.9 billion, and that is inclusive of all physical media sales. And then if you look all the way to 2021, we're down to 6.5 billion. So that's less than half. I mean, that is a significant reduction in those revenues, and that's just going to continue to decline over time. So another nail in the coffin for 4K Blu-rays and really all discs in general. All right, we're going to close up with some talks about technology in general and some of the market forces that are really weighing heavily on physical sales to close things up. Now let's talk a little bit about 4K Blu-ray and the competitors in the market and the technology. So today, 4K Blu-ray is the kind of top end for home theater for the vast majority of people that are in that hobby space, right? The big competitor is Kaleidoscape, and that is really kind of encompassing the market of downloadable high quality video. Kaleidoscape in general can be superior, and often is, to 4K disc because you don't have a physical media limitation on the file size. And we've already hit that limitation for 4K disc now. They're having to compress content down to get it to fit on all dual layer discs today. So there's talk of what the future looks like. Do they go to triple layer discs, that kind of thing? From my point of view, 4K disc is likely the end of the line for physical formats on an optical disc. It doesn't make any sense for them to come out with a newer technology and then go through the whole sales cycle of new players and that kind of thing when the alternative is available, which is downloadable content. Kaleidoscape does that today, and my expectation is that there will be other competitors in the future that are legitimate, right? But when you think about legitimate technologies, Kaleidoscape is a vision of what the future looks like. So you have three pieces. You've got streaming, you've got disc physical media, and then downloads of the video files, which is represented by Kaleidoscape. And streaming is obviously on the rise. I would hazard to say, although I don't have any metrics around this, that Kaleidoscape is on the rise. And as we've seen, physical media is on a very steep decline. Where does that leave you at if you're a big 4K disc fan? Well, probably ultimately in the same place that the Laserdisc aficionado was in down the line. So I don't know what that clock looks like, but it's ticking down, and I think those days are numbered. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know down below what you think. What are your predictions for the future? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a different vision? I'm very curious to know what your thoughts are. And with that, I'll leave you guys. See you in the next video.